Situation report, Eastern Front, August 1942. 9th Army von Manstein. Objectives of liberation of Ukrainian territory mostly achieved. Isolated resistance near Rostov. Consolidation of positions and lines of control and planning for next phase of assault. 15th Army, Guderian. Concentration of armored units at Bryansk, planning route northeast towards Moscow. Russian rearguard actions minimal, but tanks in urgent need of fuel and ammunition. As usual, the armored fist is held back by the weakness of the supply train behind it. Expectation to take Moscow before onset of winter still holds. 2nd Army von Kluge. Concentration at Tula. Minimal resistance of Russian fighters in the city. Deploying additional infantry to secure the supply depots, then begin planning for attack north against Moscow. 4th Army von Leeb. Assault against Petrograd-Tver line halted due to excessive casualties. Requesting additional air support for ground operations over strategic destruction of Russian cities. Situation report, North Africa, August 1942. Afrika Expedition Höppner. Troops rested and ready for assault against Algiers. Suffering in sweltering heat, but motivated after arrival of Kaiserreich's reinforcements. Ready to have tea and baguette before Christmas. Situation report, East Asia, August 1942. 12th Army, Paulus. Concentrating troops in Burma to move against Dhaka and cut off supply to whole enemy frontline. Offensive direction north from there to encircle and destroy enemy troops. Port Moresby has been taken, desperate fights in the jungle for control of the vital harbor facilities. We have a lot of wars going on and many theaters to observe, so let's get right back into it. But first, have a very quick look if there is anything we can do in Abteilung 3B. I think better encryption still is something we can make happen, so let's do that. And we are building up supply at the Eastern Front, but I think the battle for Tula is already running, where some infantry is attacking. So let's join, given that it is a, let's send maybe one Panzer division, or maybe two, 6th and 4th, over to support this attack. And that should make the difference, I hope. Yeah, we're getting the Panzers involved, and that should take Tula without too much trouble. We are not advancing in the north right now. We are producing a couple more tactical bomber wings here that can, once they are somewhat trained up, support the assault. But we do need to clear out the remaining Russian troops in the Baltic Duchy. So let's do that quickly, just to get that out of the way, while keeping an eye on Port Moresby, which we have held. So the 2nd Infantry Division, which I believe is a Dutch division that is serving under General Paulus, is digging in now in Port Moresby, and we potentially have an opportunity here to cut off some of the Australasian defenders. And now that they no longer have supply, that should severely hamper their offensive capabilities. But it will remain to be seen if we can actually hold Port Moresby. But let's get back to the Baltic Duchy. Now the key here is to make sure that we don't allow them to retreat to defensible island positions. So I'm going to start attacking this vastly understrength mountain division here. And we will see where they retreat before we are pushing on. So they definitely have no chance of surviving, but we will see where they retreat. And the Maschinenkarabiner Modell 42 is done. Good. So we can get that ticked off the list. And we'll see what else is required. I think this is still slightly ahead of time, but we're not really short. I think getting better fire control might be something we can do at this point. However, we do have a research bonus for rockets. Not sure we need it. We could also get better radar. How's the artillery tech? We are actually pretty behind on anti-tank, but we could get some upgrades on anti-air, which we also don't need urgently. Other than that, that's still ahead of time. Getting recon slightly improved might also be a good thing. Now let's do this. We are very behind here, so let's get recon improved. And of course, we do have Blom and Voss actually for escort ships. what's the last thing we can do here? I think it's 5% production output. Definitely, that's something I would like to have. This is for the frigates. We are establishing the Peenemünde test site in preparation for more advanced technological breakthroughs. But we do need to change the production of infantry equipment towards the now automatic assault rifle, the Maschinenkarabiner 42, the machine carbine 42, and that's that. And that obviously needs to build up efficiency, but we'll get there. For now, in the north, Helsinki, we're just holding. So von Mackensen's mechanized divisions are positioned well in the city, and they can just hold for now. But we have to see that we break through these Russian positions here, and then we can we also do need to keep an eye on potential naval battles. That's just a smaller group. I think the Americans are still keeping to themselves, and we do have to make a decision at some point of where to deploy the Navy next. I think the Pacific is probably the more likely theater in the end. Okay, so they are retreating towards the islands, so we will send 2 divisions to chase them and 1 division to take the northern island, while at the same time launching the assault in the south and in the north towards Reval to ensure that we are destroying all these positions. Do we have air support over the area? I don't think we have. This will give the tactical bombers something to do. So instead of training theoretically, we are going to train practically by bombing Russian positions. Meanwhile, in Africa, Kenya has capitulated. Rudolf Asmis has announced that the cowardly Kenyan nation could no longer withstand the pressure from the overwhelming presence of Mittelafrikaner forces throughout the country. The Kenyan government chose to flee the country and has gone into exile. Their main forces have capitulated, and the Middle Africa Colonial Federation is now in control of their home area. Though the war against what remains of the Entente continues elsewhere, it is a great victory for all of the Reichspakt. So Middle Africa is now in control here. And Ethiopia is making slow gains, but this looks like one of those wars that is going to take forever, and we'll just leave them to it, to be honest. And that means they can probably now concentrate more forces towards Nigeria. But I think once Algiers falls, I don't think the French administration has anywhere to flee to, but we shall see. So for now, back to the situation here in the Baltic Duchy, and let's just clean that up. Have we taken Tula? We have taken Tula, which means that von Kluge's tanks are now should now be supplied. How is the supply situation? Okay, we haven't connected the railways yet. Do we need additional supply anywhere? I think. I think I'm going to just switch everything to motorized. Somebody suggested that in the comments, and it is actually a good idea. So let's get motorized on all field marshals, and just ensure that we have the trucks. We do have the trucks, and we have 92 army experience, which I think means we can now get the new marine divisions underway. Okay, so with this, we would have not quite as much organization as I would like to, but we could. So we would have a relatively well armored and high soft attack division, which has a 60% attack modifier on amphibious landings. It's got a 33% attack modifier on river crossings, and on anything else that is wetland. So we can probably expand it a little bit and give it another Amtrak battalion down the road. But for now, that's going to be the Marine Sturmdivision. So let's see. See how many of these we can change over, and I'm going to have to fix the naming scheme. The problem is that there's no grouping for marine divisions, interestingly enough, so they just get the regular infantry. But I will rename these all. But let's see first. Yeah, we are short on the amphibious tanks. That's kind of the problem here. So we'll start slowly. We will start slowly converting them, but we might have to upgrade the production of the light amphibious tanks. The Schwimmpanzer. Yeah, we're getting there. We've got 20 factories assigned, so that should. We're producing 4 a day. These things are not that expensive. We should be able to produce a fair amount of them. So hopefully soon we can change the rest of the marine divisions, and then they can make themselves useful, and we will see where we will send them. In fact, I think the assault divisions here from Guderian's 15th might actually be transferred to von Mackensen, and then we'll expand into Finland. I think once they're finished here. So let us complete operations there, but first we have to take a very quick look at Port Moresby and see if we're holding. We are holding in Port Moresby. So they are now out of supply, which means that while they are relatively well equipped, they are going to absolutely starve because they no longer have any supply. So the next operation, once all the troops have regained their organization here, is to assault and encircle the Australasian divisions there. All right, let's get back to finishing off the positions here. We should now have some air support coming in soon, once the bombers are up and in the air, and yeah, they should be. So we'll have incoming bomber support relatively soon. Yep, there we can see it exploding. And we are pushing through to destroy that mountain division and not give them a chance to reinforce on these islands. And we've got 2 infantry divisions pushing north towards Reval, and they will be joined very soon once we have taken Pärnu. And here we can destroy the last remaining defenses, and then we will push north towards Reval here as well. That's okay. They have been destroyed, so these divisions can immediately start moving north. And we are just going to use that single division to take the remaining territory. There is a tank division, but it is vastly depleted at this point. So I think the Russians are going to be defeated here relatively quickly. They have broken out due to some Duchy troops leaving the front lines open as usual. But I think we can cut these off relatively quick. Slight counterattack here, but they have already been defeated. Let's press the attack. I think that might be harder than it looks. We are actually getting bombarded by Russian forces in the Gulf of Finland. Can we do something about that on the quick? Everything here is currently refitting, I think. It's currently repairing, yes. So the answer would be no. Heavy Finnish attacks against the Marine Division at Hanko. We might need to reinforce that with... they seem to be seeing a weakness here. Let's see if we can reinforce that with one of... How's it looking? Oh no, that's fine. The 959th can absolutely hold that. And yes, I will rename them in a minute. I just want to finish off the operations here. So let's get all the assault divisions. Stop the attack here. Give the troops some time to reorganize, and then we will encircle and destroy these last remaining Russian troops in the north here. Königlich Sächsische is getting actually counterattacked by a very exhausted Russian division. So in that case, we are, since the counterattack has obviously faltered, we are immediately going to follow that up. And I think we might be able to finish that off before. Yeah, they are now encircled. The last Russian defenders are surrendering, despite the fact that this one division has been fighting bravely. And that just leaves a single errant Russian infantry division in Dorpat, and then we can move the rest of the infantry north towards Finland and reinforce the operations there. So that's probably going to be done relatively soon. Good, which means we can now get back to Port Moresby, where we have regained our organization, and that means we can launch an assault from the north and support that directly from Port Moresby, given that we now have German East Asian troops defending, and encircle and destroy the Australian troops here. And I think from there on out, that is going to be the end of Australian operations in the area. We do have some resistance issues in Iceland by the looks of it. Yes, definitely. So we might need to dispatch, I think Josef Jakobs, who is very experienced in dealing with resistance, can be dispatched to Iceland to deal with that. And in here we are almost done. Yeah, we're almost done. So these troops can now not move off towards the other front lines, but actually move towards Reval. And do we need to assist the Duchy troops with destroy? No, I think we're fine. So let's get all the troops. In fact, let's not actually move them to Reval. Let's get the troops. Shipped across. Now, for that, we do need to extend our coverage in the Gulf of Finland. So make sure that the Geleitgruppe is on target and no Russian submarines can make anything happen here. And then we can send this part of Guderian's troops and actually assign them to von Manstein, who now has a couple of experienced infantry divisions in addition to his Panzer Grenadiers. Meanwhile, one of the first battles of the new long-range submarines, stealthy submarines off the coast of Florida, sees them being chased by, as usual, American battle groups, and we will be escaping from there, I think. But it looks like Cuba is actually doing reasonably well. And we might be able to support this assault here and finish off the encircled American division. So the Americans have failed to take Cuba despite vicious attacks and despite attempts at cutting it off economically, which brings us back to Port Moresby and New Guinea, where we are extending the holdings of German East Asia. Landing crafts finished, which is good, and that's still too far ahead. We're not really doing much in terms of mine laying. However, we do have a fair few improvements on here. So I think torpedo improvements are definitely what we want to go for. And we can shorten that by using some naval experience, which I don't have an awful lot of, and I still have the doctrines to research. So I will just do this the old-fashioned way, and we are going to use the Schichauwerke for that. And we do have on the Schichauwerke actually some improvements to be put. We can add deck guns, or we can go down for high-powered engines, which is actually not ideal for what we're trying to do with the stealth submarines. Speed is good, but the reduction of stealth not so much. We'll go with improved deck guns for now, and we're not upgrading that for, just later when we actually are doing a major refit. All right, Port Moresby, Battle of Port Moresby is about to conclude, and then from there on, we can now destroy these encircled or soon to be encircled Australian divisions, and we will support that from Port Moresby. And we can directly send the infantry from the north as well. The Dutch mountaineers are holding the southern parts, and with the destruction, that leaves 3 Australasian divisions remaining. And I think that is pretty much going to be it for the Australian occupation of the Northern Islands. And we're setting ourselves up for a future naval invasion from Port Moresby into probably Brisbane or further north, depending on the situation, but that is far ahead. All right, with the situation in here cleared, we are waiting for the. Where did Guderian's? Where did von Kluge's troops? Not von Kluge's, von Mackensen's troops go? Okay, there they are. They are shipping across. I will just keep an eye and see if there's any kind of trouble on the seas. But I think the escort groups have that, despite the fact that they are still somewhat overstretched. But the troops have landed safely and without incident mostly, and that should give von Mackensen a fair amount of fighting power to start taking down Finland. So yet another front opened. And that also means that we no longer need the tactical bomber wings here. Instead, they can resume their training operations, and then once they will become effective, they can be sent over the Western Russian air zone. All right, I think we have reached pretty much the limit of our supply here. And in some cases even extended the supply, the range of supply. So I think it is time to stop. Well, first of all, this operation, but also any further operations should there should no longer be any further combat operations on the front line. I think we are going to stop the overall assault. We have reached the goals in eastern Ukraine. And we do have to draw new plans for what the next move is. That means, however, that we can now focus on the other theaters. The mountainous terrain north on the ridges overlooking Algiers is going to be difficult to take, but we will see what the combined forces here are going to be capable of. Can we? Yeah, we can assault that from all directions. And we will attack north as well and see if we can directly push the French troops out. It looks like we can. And we will assault their mountain positions very soon and support from here. Okay, we do have some air cover, but we don't have any bombers in the area. Bombers still being a scarce resource. So I think we already have diverted. Yeah, we can reduce the fighter production significantly at this point. I think we are good on that regard. We have a lot of heavy fighters in storage, so instead we're going to reduce that by 10 and that further down by 5, and that leads to and that I think also can go into more into the Schwimmpanzer production. Let's push that up by a further 5, and we have, I think, enough heavy fighters at this point. We'll put it down to 15. We're still building the Focke-Wulf 190s quite aggressively, but I think with that we are in a good position overall in terms of production and stockpiles of everything. Mechanized equipment, we can start converting some of the older ones. We do. How much do we have in stockpile on mechanized equipment? 2,000. Okay, yeah, I can see that being viable. So begin conversion of older equipment into the Sonderkraftfahrzeug 251 by mounting heavy machine guns on it. Also, we are good on fuels, so we can reduce the amount of oil that we're trading for, especially when it comes to ineffective or relatively ineffective trades like Iran and Azerbaijan. So let's reduce the amount and see how that looks like. I think we are still daily gain and daily consumption. Yeah, we're still ahead actually, so we can still further reduce the amount of imports here. We can potentially shrink the amount of rubber imports. And I think aluminium is in good shape. All right, so we're good in terms of resources. Attacks ongoing along the front line in Africa. And I think we will just push into the desert to make sure the southern troops, we're leaving the south pretty much to the Irish, but to ensure that the southern troops are not getting cut off. And the French resistance in the mountains is relatively fierce, honestly. How is the air situation? We do have, they actually have a fair amount of aircraft up. So this is an interesting air battle. We might need to reinforce this. Fortunately, I think we have no capacity in the airports. Oh no, the Tunis airbase is relatively strong. So let's bring, let's temporarily divert some heavy fighters that we don't need from the Eastern Front and send them there. Or we could also use regular fighter wings. Let's bring nine fighter wings south into Tunis and give them air superiority over the area. So that should cover the front lines quite nicely and assist with dealing with enemy aerial superiority, which is a bit of a trouble for the dug-in French troops here in the mountains. Henschel. Okay, do we still have something to actually unlock in Henschel? I think we were pretty much through here. So the only one is quality and assurance routine, and no, I don't have the XP to improve that, but that'll give reliability for production cost. We'll do that when we get to it. And the Gotha Waggonfabrik for the strategic bombing, 5% range, I'll take it, and I will do that by hand as well, otherwise everything gets confused later on. All right. So that's ongoing. Port Moresby next. Port Moresby, yeah, we are encircling. We are destroying the last remaining divisions here. So once these Australian divisions have been destroyed, then we can move on. So back to Algeria, where the attacks are somewhat faltering now. What are we facing here? A huge number of enemy support planes. So they are concentrating very heavily. They are concentrating concentrating the Air Force very heavily to stop our advance towards Algiers. So I think under that fact, we are going to stop the assaults for now, and we're just expanding the lines a little bit here. But we are going to stop the assaults and wait for reinforcements in the air and bring more aircraft into the area. We do have a fair amount, so I think I've still got some fighters here. However, we are getting ready for an invasion of Spain, so that's where we are going to need more planes as well. The Luftwaffe is getting a little stretched, and the tactical bomber wings, the new tactical bomber wings are, I think, probably ready, so they can join close air support over Western Russia, where we are going to. This is not us attacking, actually. We've halted all attacks, but where we are now going to make the next push. Von Kluge's tanks are ready. Supply lines are as good as they're going to get. And with that, I think it is time for the push towards Moscow. So unfortunately, that means we need to push across the river here, but we'll see if we can make that. And then directly assault Moscow south, and we've got Guderian's tanks, we've got Guderian's panzer divisions ready here, who can in Bryansk, who can now actually. Oh, we've seen the Ukrainians are making some headway here, so we are not going to bother with the Ukrainians at this point. We are just going to straight up follow the lines towards Moscow. And we can support that with infantry as needed once we have some infantry divisions available. The flank's getting very long here in the south, and I think we need to rebalance that a little. Yes, I think the von Manstein's 9th is overstretched, so we are going to get von Leeb to take over a larger part of the front line. And we're going to get von Manstein to. The Ukrainians can take this at this point as well. So we're going to get von Manstein to fall back here, and we're going to get von Leeb to cover the rest of the flanks, because he should have the troops to make that happen. Getting stretched a little bit here in the vast Russian regions, but we'll see. I think the race is on. I think von Kluge is probably going to make it towards Moscow first. All right, so we've got 7th and 10th moving through, which means that the advanced spearhead of 9th, 8th, and 6th at this point actually has to take a pause here, defend against a Russian counterattack, but they do need to wait for the rest of the panzers to catch up. So we'll do a quick encirclement and destruction of Russian troops while we are waiting for. And that is the wrong front line. Well, we are waiting for the rest of the tanks to catch up. Meanwhile, von Kluge's tanks have forced a breakthrough at Serpukhov, and it is Sedan-Tag again. Actually, definitely will beat Guderian to Moscow. So we can send 3 of the divisions to broaden the lines here and open a second front towards Moscow. We've got the 6th, 1st, and 3rd pushing through already and defeating counterattacks. And we've got the 4th, 2nd, and 5th moving in along the south bank. But I think Moscow is about to fall, and now we are getting Guderian to play catch up, because his tanks are making their way. And we can leave the cleanup there to the infantry. His tanks are making their way to the front lines. And however, I think the first armored divisions are attacking Moscow. Russian defenders are completely overwhelmed by the speed of the armored advance. Now the rest of the troops is joining, and just like that, the rivers have been crossed. And the German tanks roll through Moscow. In a last-ditch effort of a Russian tank division that has been quickly formed, is failing, and with that, Moscow has fallen. The last time Moscow was taken by a foreign power, a vast fire wiped out large portions of the city. Not so today, when Ukrainian forces, and supported obviously by German forces, broke through the siege lines in multiple places and converged on the Kremlin. Russian soldiers continue to snipe the enemy from high rises, but the main defenses have broken and are filtering out through the suburbs into the surrounding forest. Red Square, along the center of Russian life in the city, has been turned into a makeshift POW camp, and burning debris was seen falling from Kremlin windows. No doubt a last-ditch effort to prevent Russian intelligence from falling into Reichspakt hands. This is a dark day for the Russian Republic. Dire indeed. So let's see what the Russian government decides to do from here on out. Let's see. Moscow Accord. They have not given up quite yet. So the Russian government is. We'll see where they flee to. But with Moscow fallen, I think they are very much in a position to. They're very much not in a position to do anything else. So let's mop up. Since Guderian lost the race towards Moscow, he can at least have the consolation of mopping up the troops in the south here. And we've got some tanks coming in from all directions that can assist with that. And here we go. And we get some infantry to assist as well. And the battle's already over. While von Kluge's, we do need to leave some of von Kluge's tanks in. We do need to leave some of von Kluge's tanks in Moscow. So I am going to. I'm going to leave the 4th for now in Moscow, while the rest is securing the lines around it, and we are going to obviously shorten the front line for von Kluge here. And let the infantry catch up. The infantry lines are getting shorter, but friendly troops have already almost joined in the south with the divisions that have been basically operating, just holding lines here in Georgia and extending the reach of the Ottoman Empire. So I think it is time that they make themselves useful. How is the supply situation in the area? It is not great. We do have supply in the north, however, so I think we can I think we can take these troops under Hase, the 11th Army. First of all of these troops are somewhat outdated, so we'll let the Ottomans handle that. But they can. Where can we? They can make themselves useful in cleanup operations in the south here. So let's position them. Let's position them around the south. And we are going to bring them in. It says that some units are encircled, so I'm not entirely sure which ones that would be. I don't see any encirclement on our side, but I appear to... Okay, I can probably change... We'll see which ones I can change the template of. And it does say... Yeah, it does say that some divisions I can't change, so I'll get to that, but these can redeploy. These can redeploy south, and I think we can honestly let the Ukrainians storm the area here. There's an encircled Russian division that we can clean up, but yeah, the Ukrainians are making progress and are defeating Russian troops along the whole line of contact. So the German infantry does not need to be getting involved here. We are very out of supply in the east. This looks like an area that is... Oh, that's because we probably not yet connected... We haven't connected Tambov yet. Okay, so that'll resolve itself. But with Moscow fallen, I think the next operation here is going to be to... further destroy Russian divisions, and there are still a few here that need cleaning up. Further destroy Russian divisions, consolidate the front lines, and then see where they fled to Petrograd. Okay, so that's probably going to be the next target. So I think Guderian can be deployed north and make a push from the Baltic duchies. Yep, into Petrograd and take the Russian government out. So that's something he can do. Machine-assisted encryption is done, and we are having decisions available. Is that just? I think that's just the fact that we have some political power. I am planning to change out Max Planck for the Uranverein to improve the nuclear research, and that's something that needs to happen. All right. Rheinmetall for artillery. What can we still do here? I think that is artillery, production efficiency gain, production efficiency cap. Yep, we'll take that. So that's done. And we had a naval engagement. Oh, that was off the coast of Florida, where we have lost some convoys. Irish convoys, interestingly enough. We do have the Irish have moved troops towards Nassau, which, interestingly enough, appears to be under Canadian control. Not sure what the 9th Infantry is doing here. Maybe they're doing a naval invasion. That is entirely possible, although that is probably ill-advised. And the Americans are keep chasing our submarines, but we do manage to. So far, they do manage to be successful and sink them. We have lost a submarine to a Canadian radar group. That's due to the fact that we're currently not operational, but we are sinking a lot of enemy transports just around the mid-Atlantic, which appear to have no convoy escorts whatsoever. So that's going well. And let's see what the... Okay, so still repairs going on. And here, still some repairs going on as well. So the two Schlachtgeschwader are still repairing, and then they will be relocated towards the Pacific to start taking on Japan, while we are leaving the Atlantic theater for now to the submarine operations. And we will be also deploying Marines towards the Pacific to make things happen over there. Meanwhile, where are we? in Port Moresby. Let's have a look on that front. And I think we can at this point just get everybody to clean up the remaining Australasian troops so they can be on their own here. And we have the troops in India where we need to start making advances. So I think the key here is to take the supply port near Dhaka, which will cut off supply to the whole northeastern front. And then from there we will move north and try and march through the jungles and mountains to clean up the remaining Indian troops. So that's the plan. And I think for that we will first have to take the forest position or the jungle position in Manipur in the north of the port. So that's where we are going to concentrate our efforts. We do have some air support here now. Yeah, we've got 4 tactical bomber wings in the air, so this should work out. So let's get that to happen, and then from there on, we'll probably encircle the troops and destroy them. But the first question is, can we fight our way through the entrenched Indian divisions in that area? More naval battles that we need to take a look at. We have managed to sink an enemy destroyer, actually. That has been done probably by our escort groups. So interestingly enough, the escort groups are fighting back at this point. And how is it overall looking? We've got the first Unterseebootsflottille starting to gain some experience from operations in the east. In the west, and the rest of the submarines slightly under strength at this point because we are not actually building the reinforcements there. So we're building two type 10s, and we are not building the type 9s. So I think we probably just want to schedule another production line for the type 9A submarines. And I think the Schichauwerke was the surface detection, surface visibility, subvisibility. Yeah, we're going to use Schichauwerke for that. So once we have some dockyards freeing up, then they can start building reinforcements for those. And in the east, on the Russian front, Guderian is cleaning up the remaining Russian positions here. We have secured Moscow, and we are again waiting for the supply lines to consolidate. So I think the next bigger operation is going to be to move Guderian towards the Baltic Duchy. We'll expand operations in Finland now that von Mackensen has some additional troops. And we can join forces. We can join forces here in the south, potentially, and just clean up, clean up positions here. I think that is actually an interesting proposal. There's a Russian tank division, but our anti-air guns don't have a problem getting through that. So let's make small gains while everything is consolidating, but there's a potential for a vast Russian encirclement if we can manage to join the lines in the north. And I think supply-wise, none of these positions is ideal. There is a supply port in Stavropol, so taking that is probably going to be priority. So that could be an operation for at least some of von Kluge's tanks, while Guderian is moving north towards the Baltic Duchy. But first of all, let's do a bit of an army reorganization, because a lot of these troops are actually outdated and not up to the latest. It's the 240th Infantry Division, at this one up here. For some reason, the game considers that encircled, and I can't change the template. So to a better infantry division, which is requiring some artillery, which we have. So get these troops all up to speed. And we can also start potentially changing around some of the motorized divisions that we've got here. So von Kluge has a couple of motorized divisions. Can we change these to Panzergrenadier divisions? We have enough mechanized for probably 5 of them. And we've got 5 of them. So this should be fine. So let's get all these. Let's get all of these changed into Panzergrenadier divisions, and that'll give von Kluge's troops a significant boost in firepower. All right, that's that. And then the last thing, I need to check if any more of the infantry divisions here can be changed into Marine Sturmdivision, and now we're just short on the light tanks really. So we'll do this one by one as they become available, and I'll now go and rename those. Okay, they're all properly renamed. I've named these the Marine Sturmpanzerdivision, the Marine Storm Armored Division, and I think we can, they're already making advances towards Petrograd. The Russians don't have anybody left in the north, so I think at this point, the Russian northern lines have completely collapsed. So we can give von Leeb's troops the assault order again, and get them to begin marching towards Petrograd, while everything's been concentrated around Moscow, and the Russian losses have been so severe at this point that there is literally not much left. So, new plans then. Von Manstein's 9th Army needs a new objective, and I think your objective is going to be basically to push all the way towards the Ural Mountains almost. And we are going to get von Leeb's troops have their orders, and we are going to send some of the tank divisions. Let's get 3 tank divisions. That should be sufficient. 3 of von Kluge's tank divisions. Actually, if we're cleaning it all up, then we might as well send all of them. So in that case, let's get von Kluge's 2nd Army and get them to assist with the cleanup in the southern flank here. So first task will be to close the gap and to take the supply port at Stavropol, and then from there on out we'll assist with cleanup in the south. And we are going to get Guderian's tanks, who are complete. So Guderian's panzer divisions can now move north and assist with the assault on Petrograd, and then just exploit from there and effectively clear out these positions. And at the same time, the 11 divisions of von Mackensen can begin cleanup operations in Finland, freeing up the Marines, and the Marines here as well can then we'll send these over, and then the rest of the Marine divisions can start deploying towards the Pacific soon, once we are done with the cleanup operations here. In Port Moresby, in Papua New Guinea, troops are on the move. Australian troops are being destroyed. In India, how is it looking? Okay, we are positioned. We're still fighting. We're still fighting our way towards the north, and the operations in the jungle is what makes this dangerous, which means the air power is much appreciated. So let's see if we can use the momentum and push through here, and see if we can encircle some troops in the south, destroy them, take the port, cut off supply, and then move north. How long is the justification on Spain away? Because that is something we're going to need to do soon as well. We are 2 weeks away from declaring war on Spain, which will then free up all these mountain troops that are currently sitting in Iceland and in Spain, and these will be coming quite useful in other theaters as well, especially in the center here, where we could quite use them. And do we have air now? How's the air situation in the Maghreb zone? Yeah, we've got 1,300 fighters up in the air. I think we can launch the next attack again. We have made some progress towards Algiers, and I think at this point, yeah, we are just going to run an all-out attack towards Algiers and see if we can manage to push the French out. Let's assault them in the south as well to make sure that they cannot reinforce the thin lines in the north. And we have complete aerial superiority, which means any kind of enemy bombing operations will just result in enemy planes being shot down. The Entente is sending all they have into the air, but the Luftwaffe is making short work of them now that we had some reinforcements, and we should be able to push through here without too much trouble and and drive the French Marine Infantry Division in the north here in front of us towards Algiers. We are faltering a little in the attack on the mountain positions in the center, but we should have some additional troops available soon to further the attack here. And yep, we have pushed the Marines out, but I think at this point the problem has become supply. So we're not going to be able to attack Algiers directly at this point. We are going to send additional divisions in for now. But we do need to ensure that we are clearing out the mountain positions in the south. I think it's wise to push the Marines further at this point and ensure that we're consolidating the front lines, and instead of running a frontal assault with exhausted troops against Algiers. The southern mountain positions have been taken, and now we can support the assault in the north. And Petrograd has already fallen without Guderian's. Guderian's quest for glory is really not getting anywhere because the Baltic Duchy troops already have rushed ahead and have taken Petrograd, and the Russian front line in the north is completely open. There is nobody left and on that line. The great Russian city, built by Peter the Great, was captured today. Russian defenders initially held back the Baltic army across the Neva River, but a few days ago those positions fell. Now, sustained cannon fire on Vasilyevsky Island has put the last defenders out of their misery. Some military tacticians say that with proper defense the city could have been held for years, but the Baltic momentum carried them through the city faster than that. The Baltic Army soldiers are using the Palace Square as a staging ground for moving throughout the rest of the city, and there are rumors of Baltic soldiers taking tours through the Museum of Artillery, confident they will put their mark on the history of the Russian Republic. And with that, the Russian government has once again fled from the combined onslaught. And they are, although they are still resisting. We'll see where they set up shop next. But I think Guderian at this point, can pretty much run wild in the north through Russian territory, because there's nothing left. Let's wipe out this Russian division here, and then we will get Guderian's tanks to, hopefully finally start getting some glory for themselves, rather than actually following behind the Baltic Duchy troops that are leading the charge here. Okay, Russian defenders are now starting to actually pour into the lines in the north. So that means that at least Guderian still gets to fight. While von Kluge, I think, we still haven't cleared these infantry positions here. So let's do that. Let's do that quickly. But I think, von Kluge's troops have arrived. So we get the tank divisions to push towards Stavrograd, which I think, that's the supply hub. So let's get that assault going. And the Russians here have very little supply. there's no chance of them actually doing much. In the meantime, in the North African front, we're still trying to secure the mountain positions that are blocking our way here towards Algiers. But I think these are about to be encircled, and they are now being attacked from all directions with fighter support in the air. I think they are going to fall here, and then from there on out. Okay, we've got the positions, and once we have the area secured, we should have some. Yeah, there they go. They are encircled. Let's get them destroyed, and then we should be able to get some supply out of Constantine towards a final assault on Algiers, which is going to come, I would say, and we have to make sure we are using that, which is going to come in the next episode. But first, we had a quick look at Peenemünde, which has now been created. So the work towards, now where was that? Here it was. Established Peenemünde has been done, which means now we are going down the other branch towards the Uranverein, which is going to be made official, and that means nuclear reactors are going to be built, and the research towards the atomic research is progressing, and the secret projects that the syndicalists have been following are coming to a close, where Germany will have war-changing weapons after all.